All right, welcome into the first ever SalSports Zoom conference. This is pretty cool. Everybody say hi. Just say hi. Go ahead.
Hey.
Hello.
We got Bills
going
fans
on?
from everywhere. All right, so I'm gonna say your name. It might not be the actual name that's on the bar here, but hopefully it is. And I just want you to tell me maybe your Twitter handle and where you're zooming from today. So let's start with Zach. Go ahead, Zach.
Twitter handle @Williford Webb. I'm zooming from Spencerport, New York, close to Rochester.
All right, Daryl, go ahead, buddy.
This is Daryl. I'm zooming from Philadelphia right now, and give me 1 second.
Philly.
I'm having
Shout to Philly.
man.
That's okay. We got you. We can hear you. We can see you. Go ahead, Billy D.
I'm having some technical difficulties here.
Well, we see you and we hear you, so you're all good.
Oh, okay,
buddy.
good.
Yeah, so
I'm
go
at
ahead.
Daryl F29.
Okay, thank you. Daryl F29. Bill, go ahead.
Hey,
Which
everybody,
one? Bill D.
Billy D0311 on Twitter, and I'm zooming from my place in East Aurora right now.
Awesome. Billy Cruz.
Salute.
My name is Bill Cruz. I'm zooming from Metairie, Louisiana. That's why I'm outside.
Nice.
Born and
Awesome.
raised in Buffalo, though. So
You guys cannot mistake Mark. He's standing at New Era Field. What's up, Mark?
Hey, how's it going? I don't know what my Twitter handle is, but I'm in Austin, Texas.
I'll be able to find it because I had to find you guys to do this. James, go ahead, buddy.
James Janelle, that is my Twitter handle. Zooming in from Omaha, Nebraska, by way of Angola, New York.
Oh, awesome. My mom lived in Angola for quite a while, right off of Old Lake Shore Road.
All right, no kidding. Awesome.
Absolutely. Tommy, go ahead, buddy.
Hello, my name is Tom Guzman, and I'm coming to you from Providence, Rhode Island, in New England.
Awesome. Thanks. Jill, what's up? How are
Enemy
you?
territory.
How you doing? My Twitter handle is @Jilly, JIILLYY, and I'm coming from Branford, Connecticut, which is close to New Haven, Connecticut.
Ooh, all right. We got a couple of New Englanders up there, unfortunately in enemy territory, but here tonight with us. That's awesome. Denny, but he's not really Denny. Go ahead.
Yeah, my son was logged in earlier with his class, but my name is Rob Crowley, at rcrowley44, and I'm from Attica, New York, about 45 minutes outside of Orchard Park, so not
All
too
right.
far from Buffalo.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey,
Wrong mic.
Sorry, that's all right. Go ahead.
Mike.
Mike Brindisi.
Yeah. My Twitter handle is @Mike_Brindisi, and I am zooming in from Ithaca, New York, about 2.5 hours southeast from
All right.
Buffalo.
Very, very cool. Michael Faber, we got you, buddy.
Hey guys, hey Sal, hey everybody. Zooming in from Parker, Colorado, which is southeast of Denver. Former Bills season ticket holder, grew up in Rochester. Twitter handle is Mike303716.
And Brian Z.
Hey, Brian Zolkowski, Lancaster, New York. Twitter handle bzolkowski49.
Awesome. Paul, I don't know if you can hear us. We can't see you still, but are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, it's Paul Lenz. Twitter handle is PLenzMD1. Still a Bills season ticket holder. I'm zooming from Richmond, Virginia, and grew up in the Love Canal.
Well, we still can't see you, but that's okay. We're going to let you do this because
Yeah, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to come in back again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get through that.
Are you using a computer or a phone right now?
Computer.
Okay, if it doesn't work on the computer, try on your phone. That might work as well, because if you have a smartphone, you can just use the video that way as well.
Very good.
Okay,
Right back.
awesome. So there's a way for you guys, if you want. If you look down at the very bottom and you look in the chat, you click on the chat, you have a chance, I believe, through the chat to raise your hand. Or is it participants or chat? I think it's the chat. And you can raise your hand if you want to ask a question. So we can do it that way. That might be can everybody see that where you can raise your hand? I'm not really sure.
Should be a participant.
I see chat, but
It should be participants.
it's under
participants. I'm
more.
sorry. You guys see participants there?
Yep.
And then you can raise your hand and we can do that. And that might be a little bit more streamlined for me to kind of, check on and ask everybody. Let me see if, there we go. I'm trying to let everybody be able to chat publicly if you want. And I need to also fix my chat here. So we'll do that. All right. So let's do that. I can't, for some reason, I lost the chat myself where I can actually see everybody's hands up. So we're going to try and do that. So we'll just start. If anybody has any questions, we can start talking about the Bills. We can talk about the draft. You can ask me a question about what's going on here, the pandemic, any behind the scenes stuff. We could talk about life. I think really what's needed here is for a lot of us to just basically interact with human people. I mean, you know, we miss that. And I'm interested in you guys just as much as you're interested in me, and what's going on in your lives and things like that. So, you know, the only rule that I had here that I texted all of you was no political talk and no political questions. We don't want to get into any of that, but we can have fun talking about life. And, you know, the other thing I want to say is don't be afraid to be a little bit open. You know, if anything's bothering anybody, you know, what we're going through right now, all this kind of stuff, you know, we're all here to share in the experience. And I'm really thankful to have you guys to share it with too, just as much as you may be with me. So I appreciate that. I'll start with Mike Faber. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey, Sal.
Go ahead. I'm going to try and undo your hand here as you talk. Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. Just a little background. So I grew up in Rochester. Season ticket holder from about 74 through 82, I think.
Awesome.
So OJ, Fergie, the Chucks years, all that stuff. I guess my question is just based on the news from the Pagulas today and the Sabres, what do you think the outlook is for employees of the Bills, but also how's this season going to shake out? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'm so excited about the team on the field and so worried about the team off the field.
Well, look, I think, you know, they're two separate entities, even though it's PSE. They are two separate entities. And, you know, it seems like the Sabres, because of their struggles, they have had some financial issues, at least, that they're trying to get over some hurdles. Whereas on the Bills side of things, it doesn't seem like that's the case. Let's remember the difference in the NFL and the NHL for everybody is, you know, the NFL has a pool. Everybody kind of takes care of each other. There's this huge collective bargaining agreement that involves all of the TV money and TV revenue that gets evenly distributed amongst all 32 teams. And really, there's almost no way to not make money in the NFL if you own a team, because you're going to make a certain amount of percentage of the money, and then it's going to go to basically, you know, the salary cap and how much there that you have to pay out. So you're always going to make money. Somebody sharing their screen right there? I don't even know. Something happened there. I don't know, but that's okay.
Is Paul coming
There you
back
go.
in?
Okay, yep. I think Paul could be coming back in. We don't know. In the NHL, it's a little bit different. They don't have all that money to share, so you know it's harder. I don't think anything's going to happen with necessarily like Bills employees like you saw today, but you never know. They did release or did not bring back a higher executive, Dave Wheat, whose contract was up recently. That was in the news, but you know I think that was, you know, his contract was up, and maybe that was part of the cost cutting. I'm not sure, but you know hopefully this thing doesn't last too long, because even at my own station, you know, you guys read, I'm sure, you know, we've had some furloughs and we've had some things where some people have not been able to stay employed here, at least for the interim. So hopefully that's the case where it doesn't really impact everybody long term. Denny, go ahead, buddy. What's up? I keep saying Denny. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
And what is your name again? I forgot.
It's Rob.
Rob, go ahead.
Rob. Yep. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the running back position, if you think the Bills are done at running back, or where you think they might look to add. And then my second question off that is, do you think after the addition of Diggs, you know, should we expect 3 wide as like their base offense? Because I know when Beasley was on the field, that's when they were rolling.
I do think so. You know why? I'll tell you, if you guys remember last year, if you really get right after, maybe around the Cleveland game or after, maybe the Miami game, they went to a lot of 11 personnel. And in football term, you know, 11 personnel means 1 running back and 1 tight end. And you're always going to have 5 eligible players. So if you have 1 running back and 1 tight end, that means 3 receivers. And a lot of you may know that, but some don't. That's why I explain it. And 11 personnel means 3 receivers on the field. And I think that was their best base. I also think Josh was most comfortable in 3 personnel, 3 receivers and 11 personnel. So I think they're going to keep that as far as that's concerned. I'm not down with a running back as much as a lot of people are at 54. I understand it if they want to do it because you want to add weapons. I just don't want them to be taking the ball away from both Singletary and Stephon Diggs as much as, you know, if you're going to draft a guy at 54, that might be what has to happen. You know, those guys aren't getting the ball as much. So that's what I feel about that. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see. I think they will go best player available for sure. Let's go to Mark, who's up next. I don't know where Mark is. All right, Mark, go ahead. I think Mark with the at New Era Field.
Can you hear me?
I got you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for putting this together. This is a great idea. With COVID potentially impacting the length of OTAs and training camp and preseason, should Bills fans be optimistic at the overall continuity of our roster and offensive and defensive coordinators going into the season? I feel like teams like Miami Dolphins or the Cincinnati Bengals or even the Browns, who are getting a new head coach, may not see the improvements they're looking for just because their team didn't get enough preparation before the season.
It's a great question, and I will say 100%. I actually wrote about this well before the pandemic and how much it would matter even without what we're going through right now. So I'll give you a stat, guys. This is amazing. So I got this from one of the writers. I believe it was Field Yates wrote this. So it's not my stat, but I was blown away when I read this. There's only 3 teams in the entire NFL, the Bills, the Saints, and the 49ers, who will be returning their head coach and both coordinators for a 3rd full season in a row. Think about that. That's how crazy turnover is in the NFL. And then on top of that, you think about the Bills are actually, in my mind, returning 21 of 22 starters. The only one that'll be different is Stephon Diggs coming in. Now, they did lose Shaq. They did lose Jordan Phillips. But Ed Oliver actually played more snaps than Jordan Phillips. And Murphy is actually the starter over Shaq Lawson anyway. So I think that they have so much continuity that you should be super optimistic about, because a lot of teams, like you said, aren't in that boat. I feel for teams. Imagine if we had a new coaching staff here this year with everything going on. I mean, I feel for teams like, the Carolina Panthers who are going through all of that. So, or other teams, it's like 5 of them. Now, you could have a McCarthy in Dallas. You could have a Ron Rivera in Washington. At least they're experienced coaches, even though they're new. They know how to kind of navigate through these things. New coaches, new programs, it's going to be tough for them. So I think so for sure. And I think the Bills are very much at an advantage, but hopefully everybody gets back out there soon. But I think the Bills are certainly at an advantage. James, what's up, buddy? Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on? So I've been thinking about my question for a while now, and outside of my family and my job, the Bills are probably the most important thing to me. So I'm gonna go a couple quick hitters here. All right, so you tell me what's your favorite musical band of all time and one album from them that you have to have. And if go back to 07 with the Sabres, if you could choose Drury or Briere, which one would you choose? Keep one of them only.
All right, great questions. Great questions. All right, here we go. I know this is a kind of a polarizing band, but I love them. My favorite band is U2. I love U2. I've actually seen them in concert 5 times in 4 different cities. I saw them in Buffalo twice, Cleveland, Tampa, and Boston. And obviously you have to have the Joshua Tree if you're a U2 fan. I mean, that's really where it all began. And I went to the 30th anniversary tour of the Joshua Tree as well. So that's my number one. And as far as Drury and Briere, at the time I would have said Drury, but I think the way that their careers evolved, I think the correct answer has got to be Briere, because he went on to be a prolific goal scorer for many more years. But I think the leadership of Drury was so good that you just didn't want to miss that. But I think the answer there has to be Danny Briere after a while, That's the way I look at it. So awesome questions, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Yeah, no problem. Williford, Zach, what's up, buddy?
Yes. I have actually one question about the pandemic and one about the Bills. So in regards to the pandemic, are all the pro sports commissioners working together on how they're going to restart competition? And on the Bills side, more so, are they satisfied at tight end with Knox?
Good questions. I don't think the commissioners in mass are. I know the president held a call with a bunch of the league commissioners and things like that recently, right? But I don't think the commissioners are talking to each other on a daily basis or even weekly basis. But I think what they're doing is, Zach, they're kind of looking at each other and saying, hey, how are they handling it? How are they handling it, right? And then they're kind of getting cues from each other. It's interesting because everybody's in a different timeline here. Baseball, sure, they haven't started, but they got a whole season. They can wait a little longer. Basketball and hockey are kind of in this situation where they have to make kind of decisions right now about what they're doing with their season. And football can wait a little while. So that's a really interesting question, because I don't think so, but they should. I mean, they should at least talk to each other and say, how are you handling it? What do you want to do? And things like that. And then the second, go ahead.
I asked that question just because I wonder about the fans and how many fans you're going to be able to have in close proximity to each other. If the season going to start up and then they're going to try to play with no fans or maybe 10,000 fans so they can spread them out, or.
Well, here's the problem I have that I think when these commissioners and these people talk about having a fanless game, what are you saying, that the players can't get the coronavirus? I mean, they can. They're human beings, and especially a contact sport. I just don't get it. I don't get how they think that could help. Now, if they try to do it, I mean, okay, then we'll see where it goes and maybe it'll work. But I just don't see how you can have games if you can't have. You're saying it's not saving up for fans. How's it saving up for players or officials or coaches or anybody who's involved? Broadcasters, sideline guy, right? I mean, anybody.
Right.
And what if a player says, well, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to stay home. I want to be with my family. And then what do you do with that with the NFLPA or the Major League Baseball Players Association, things like that. As far as tight end, I wouldn't say they're satisfied from what I would gather. I think they'd like to add, but I really think they love the potential they have the position. I think the one thing they might want to do is maybe still get a little bit more seasoned. Lee Smith is there, but he's not the same, type of guy as far as catching passes. Maybe get a guy that's caught some passes in the league. But if that doesn't present itself over this time and through the offseason, I think you roll with – I love Dawson Knox. I think you roll with those guys. I like Tommy Sweeney a lot. I think they have some good guys there that can contribute. I think Jason Kroom last year on IR, give him a chance to see what he can do when he comes in. He's a matchup problem. So I don't think they're satisfied, but I do think that they probably like what they have and maybe would still eye maybe adding a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if they add a veteran more than they would maybe someone in the draft, though. Darren, what's up, buddy? Daryl.
Oh, hey,
Sorry
Scott.
about that. Hey.
That's cool. First and foremost, I just want to say appreciate you for inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem.
My question is sort of related to the question that Rob asked in terms of running back. You've already stated that you would probably be against that, but if you had your GM hat on and pick 54 came up, is there a position that you would choose over, say, like running back or something like that?
I'm still not convinced they have their starter opposite Trey White at corner. I'd love if it was Josh Norman. If that means we'd all be happy and he's back to where he was. Right. How can we be convinced that EJ Gaines is going to be healthy? Right. How can we be convinced that Levi Wallace is going to bounce back? I just don't know. I feel like maybe you need to add a young guy there who you can really feel like can come in, play a role from day one, and you have him on a rookie deal, which when you sign Tre'Davious White, you can balance out the position and the spending, right? Because they gotta balance that out. What about you? What would you do, Daryl?
Actually, I would lean that way as well. It depends, though. If somebody like a DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor is there, I mean, those guys are probably the only two backs that I would say are sure thing first round backs talent wise. I mean, but other than that, like if Diggs' brother is there,
I know
a guy like that.
him.
You know what I mean? And AJ Terrell from Clemson, somebody like that.
Jalen
Johnson,
Bryce Hall. I like him.
Exactly.
I like him a lot. Yeah.
So those two positions probably would be the ones I would look at first, unless somebody like an edge rusher with speed is there, like a Darrell Taylor or somebody like that.
Edge rusher with speed, I think, is also something that they need, especially getting younger. I mean, they signed Mario Addison. He's 32, going on 33. I like him a lot, but I think they need to get younger. Trent Murphy is going to the last year of his deal. Jerry's over the age of 30, obviously.
Right.
Is still good, I think, but I think they need to get younger there. It's interesting. Brandon Beane certainly will go best player available, though. And, when you say that, if there's just a slight difference and he says, boy, but, there's a slight difference between this guy and that guy, but if I don't take this guy now, I'm going to have to wait a long time for another one at that position, then he will do that. But it's really best player available who's sticking up at his board at that time. Brian Z, what's up, buddy?
Hey, no, not much of a question, but we're getting married at the stadium in August, actually, and we're kind of concerned about how this is going to affect all that, or, if we can even have a wedding or reception. We're not having the reception there. We're having the ceremony there.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks. But, I mean, a lot of that would hinge on, too, if training camp starts in time, because I think Deion Dawkins was actually supposed to administer it.
Oh, man.
But, do you know when camp usually starts or supposed to start this year?
No idea when it's going to start this year. It normally starts the last week of July. They actually changed the rule this year through the new CBA. The rule used to be camp would start 15 days before your first preseason game. Now they've made it, I believe it's 40-something days before your first regular season game. So it's going to be around July 24th or 25th if everything holds. But, Ryan, I wish I knew. I mean, I wish we all knew. Congratulations. That's amazing. But unfortunately, we just don't know, where this is going to go at this point,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awesome.
Do you think they prioritize having like a full off season and delaying the start of the season, or like what do you think happens if they can't start in time? Do they shorten the season or?
Great question. I think they would probably prioritize the regular season and they would go with a shortened off season, which is why you're seeing these virtual off seasons come about now, because I think they'd like to get those in because they want to play the full regular season if they can in some way, shape, or form.
What do you think hockey does?
Probably cancels their season. I think that's what we're looking at right now. It just stinks. I mean, can you imagine if the Sabres were actually in a position for the first time in a long time in the playoffs right now, and we were all like, what is going on? They can't do this. I know, man. Kind of sucks. Billy Cruz, what's up, buddy? Yeah, no kidding. What's up, Billy? Billy Cruz.
Actually, my question is really kind of for everybody, and it kind of relates to that. And I'm not going to lie. First of all, why am I the only one that has a beer in my hand, by the way? I'll say that. All right.
I got coffee. I got coffee. It's okay.
Really, my question is really for everybody. You know, I'm down here in Metairie. I just watched the local news, and the mayor's talking about, I'm sorry, Metarie's a suburb of New Orleans. So the mayor's talking about canceling all these festivals and everything. And, of course, that leads to sports, too. And personally, and maybe if the Sabres are good, this would change my mind. I don't have any interest in watching the NHL or even the NBA in July or August. Like, to me, that I'm more interested in getting back to normal. So I'm just wondering what other people are thinking about that. You know what I mean? I just want, so when August comes around, they're talking about doing the U.S. Open and all that and the Masters. I have no. I'm like, just cancel them. I'm good with that. Like, let's move on to the next year. You know what I mean? I'm excited about Bills. Obviously, I'm ready for the Bill season. But
I don't know. Let me ask you a question, Billy. You got kids?
Yeah, I have a child, a 10-year-old.
Okay, well, I mean, to me, that's what I'm really struggling with. My son, he plays. He's 6, but he plays every sport imaginable. I just let in a couple guys. I'm sorry, guys, you were waiting in the waiting room for a little while we were doing that, but I got you back in. We got Susan down there. I'm just kidding. I think that's Paul, right? Paul's down there. But we got Mike back. Listen, here's the thing for me. It's killing me to watch my son who, he signed up for lacrosse and flag football and baseball all through the spring and summer, and he's not going to be able to play them right now. And that's what's killing me. So I need to get back out there. It's not for me. Right. Of course, I miss sports. I want sports. We had some family vacations planned. We just canceled our trip to Europe. My wife's from Germany. We were going to go there this year to visit family, and we had to cancel that. But it hurts me to know I have to tell my son, like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to have a lacrosse season this year. I don't know if you're going to have a baseball season this year. You know what I mean?
And I'm kind of the same way. I've had to cancel. I'm actually hoping to one of them's a cruise, so I'm hoping to cancel that. But it's more the season. Like, I'd rather, that's a part of it too. I'd rather be doing stuff that my son, getting back to normal is really the thing. You know what I mean? So the idea of the NHL coming back and doing a shortened season or whatever, I'm personally, that's me. I mean, I know that's not everybody. People want to see games, but I'm good just letting these seasons cancel. Let's move on to next year. Go Bills.
No, I got you.
I had Masters tickets, so I'm hoping for
that. Oh, man.
That sucks. Yeah.
I know. Anybody else miss something that they're like, oh, my God, this can't happen? Like I told you, I had a trip to Europe planned. We can't do that. I was going to visit my brother in Oregon. Not going to do that. Anybody want to just share something? Daryl, go ahead. Daryl, go ahead.
My son's a senior in high school, so
dude,
graduation is up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen? Right now, they're doing virtual school from home.
Yeah.
So just like we're sitting here, this is what their classroom is like.
I can imagine for older kids, they're doing the virtual. My son's doing they give us the work every day, and I do it with them, and then we upload it. But but that's a shame. Does your son play sports? High school?
No, actually, no. My daughter played basketball, so she's the athletic one. My son's more in the artsy stuff, music and stuff like that.
I got you. Yeah.
To add on to to add on the education, I'm a high school teacher in Lincoln, and it's tough trying to teach the kids online, especially when most of them don't even do the work. But as far as missing stuff, I go to grad school at University of Nebraska, and along with the Bills season, my wife and we go to a lot of Nebraska football games, and so we're worried about what's going to happen with the college football season and everything, and so it's down the road. It's just things to think about. For sure.
Yeah.
On the teaching aspect, I teach special education in 6th grade.
Okay. Awesome.
And so much of my job is being there in the moment for the kids when they're having a hard time and when they need help. And it's been a real big challenge trying to do stuff online. And, we do a Zoom chat once or twice a week, but it's just not the same, and you feel like you're not having that impact that you could be having on.
We haven't, I haven't heard from a couple people here. Jill, how you doing over there? You okay?
I'm good. I'm just observing it. Thing.
What's going on in your life?
Nothing really. I'm introverted, so this is kind of like my lifestyle. But I do miss the gym a lot. I'm really trying to create a routine. I'm working on it. I'm getting there. So.
I'm in the same boat.
I did have a question about the draft.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering, it doesn't seem like there's any generational players in this draft, and I was curious if there's any position that you see the Bills like might trade up into the first round.
Ooh, that's funny. I think I would say that's a really good question. If I think that because there's some decent pass rushers at the top, but there's a pretty good drop, it looks like. If one of them started to fall and they got like maybe into the 20s and the Bills said, you know what, like we can do this, but it would take so much for them to move up. They just don't have the capital. They already traded away 22. So you never know with Brandon Beane. If he could get up to 30, 31, 32, he would do it. Like if he has a guy there because he likes that. It's a great question because we know the receiver draft this year is amazing, but there's going to be receivers throughout the draft. Like they can take guys in the 5th round, 6th round, and they can come in and make the roster. I wonder if there's maybe an edge rusher or someone like that, oh man, you know what? I can't believe this guy's falling or something like so we need to do something to get him. That would be a really cool thing. And by the way, I'm the same way on the gym. I'm not an outside runner. I'm a treadmill runner. I like to be in a controlled environment, looking at the TV, keeping my mind off things. So I've had to force myself to run a little bit, and it's not easy, especially when the weather's not great.
Yeah. I just bought a camel pack actually and some sunglasses. So
there you go. That's awesome.
Get into it.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad you could join us today. Paul, that's you down there, right? Are you on Susan's account?
Yeah, it's my wife's computer. So
all right. Way to go.
I look good for Susan. Come on now.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, when you were asking about the impacts, who I really feel for is my daughter's a swimmer at Denison. And first time in probably 10 or 12 years, they were going to win the Natty this year for D3 swimming, and it gets shot. And a little shout out to SVP. He had them. They did a meet right after when the national championships would be just to swim, and they set a national record in the relay. It's not recognized, but those are the people that you feel hard for, right? These seniors, and what SVP was doing was cool. So
I agree, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts how it's affected all those athletes out there, and whether it's high school or college kids, I just feel awful for them.
Mike, how you doing over there, buddy?
I'm great, man. I'm maintaining like everybody else. I've got 2 kids, a wife. I'm back in college studying communications, actually. So honestly, that's a kind of a blessing in itself because that's keeping me busy.
How old are your kids?
My daughter's in kindergarten, she's 6, and then my son is 9 months. So, I mean, obviously this whole situation is awful for all of us, but, my wife and I are just trying to do the best at trying to find the positive. And the way I'm looking at it is, at the end of the day, when we're at work, even after the Bills games, which we love to be at, where do you always want to go? You want to be home. So, not this much, but you certainly, I mean, you say how many times have we said, oh my gosh, my wife's a teacher as well, and she's a coach, during season, she misses out on a lot of time with the kids, and well, we got it. So, I mean, we're okay. I mean, family's number one, but it's tough to explain to your kids that this is kind of, why is this happening, but this makes me feel good being in a room full of other parents, knowing that I'm not alone in that.
No, I hear you. Anybody else? Anybody want to share anything that's going on?
Hey Sal, this is Mike. This is Mike in Parker, Colorado. We're at the other end of that parent spectrum. I've got a son who was studying in Madrid, and we got him out basically the day of when Trump stopped all the travel. So we got him home. He's been studying from home. I've got a senior in high school who, at least according to the latest indications, will be studying at NYU starting in the fall.
Good for him.
Which yeah, very cool. He got his looks and his brains from his mom. But I'll tell you what, I mean, it's great to have them home, but to be real candid, my wife and I were planning this nice trip as our first trip as empty nesters. And so that's off the board now. I'm with Jill. I miss the gym terribly. And what's weird is that just in like, going to the drugstore or something, or the supermarket a couple of times over the last 4 weeks, the times when I've been out, I've spotted like 1 or 2 guys that I know from that 6 a.m. group. We get in at the same time, we work out at the same time, we get dressed at the same time. And to see those guys, it makes me realize how much I miss that part of the community. And none of us know our last names, You know, it's just Joe and Mike and Ryan and Daryl and Bill. But just to see them out now and to realize that we're missing that daily interaction, just to share observations as dads, as community members, as business people, it really drove it home.
Yeah, has a personal question here, obviously, but does anyone know anyone personally who's passed away due to COVID-19?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had a Bills fan, a Bills Mafia member, if you will, husband of a very close friend of mine.
I saw your
posted about
story.
on Twitter the other day.
Yeah.
His name is Brett McNeil, and Brett went to Turner Carroll High School in Buffalo, only 48 years old, and 5 kids, leaves behind 5 kids. His wife Julie and I went to Cleveland Hill together. She's on the board of education actually at Cleve Hill. Great family, and read the story. Jerry Sullivan actually wrote a story. That's the one I tweeted out about it. He actually wrote a story. Jerry's writing feature stuff now for Channel 4. He does a great job with that. And he got in touch with Julie, and she shared what happened. And it just went downhill so quickly, right? I mean, she dropped him off at the hospital. She thought he was coming home, and he's like, nah, they're going to keep me. And then all of a sudden they called and said, just so you know, like, things aren't good. And she didn't speak with him after that. So, I mean, like people are saying, like how this thing just kind of engulfs you in ways that you can't realize and don't know, and how it hits you. I think that's when it hits you, when all of a sudden you realize somebody that this thing got, and people are passing away that So, we're really sad about that, obviously. And he's not the only one, but that's my personal connection to this particular disease and knowing somebody. Billy, go ahead. You have a funny story, Billy Cruz, funny story that you want to share. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got to unmute myself. Yeah, It actually kind of involves you, Sal.
And you've been drinking. I don't know if that's good. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm sure a bunch of us have gone to some road games. Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
no. So last time the Bills played in Tampa, I went down to Tampa with a buddy of mine named Dave. And his father actually just passed away from COVID, but that's what this story is about. But anyways, he's the kind of friend, everybody has a friend like this. If you bring up an idea, they'll make it happen. He's that friend for me. So I'm like, hey, let's go to Tampa. He shows up with 2 tickets, 30-yard line, 10 rows up. Next day, I guess we're going to Tampa to go see the Bills. They got their ass kicked, we moved on.
I remember that.
Every year when the Bills schedule comes out, everybody has their games they want to go to, right? And of course, Miami, they're in the division. It's great weather. Hopefully it's December, even better, And for whatever reason, I can't ever get to that game. There's always something, a family function, whatever. And one year, I'm like, all right, let's go. Got my tickets. He's like, oh, shoot, I got tickets to the game. I got you in the box. I got you going into Russ Salvador's party. I'm like, sweet. About a month before, my wife ends up hospitalized. Not here to talk about that. Right? So I can't go anyways. Had to cancel everything, And Sal, me and you have never met, right?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, no, we never have, right?
Okay.
Somehow Sal ends up getting my ticket to Russ Salvador's party because of me, because I can't go.
Oh my gosh, really?
I'm that Bill, right? No, what's really funny about that is, I'm sure everybody's been the friend that's sober and all their friends are drunk texting them. So my friend Dave's drunk texting me all day, And sure enough, at the end of the night, I'm just like, dude, you got to stop texting me. Well, hopefully you guys can make this out. Here's Sal Capaccio. Thanks to the iCloud. Oh, yeah. I can't.
What is it? What am I saying there?
Fucking party, man. So next time,
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Sal, I've been. It's been 3 years since that, I think, because that was a while ago, right?
Yeah.
I've been waiting for a comeback.
I've been to Russ's party a few times, and that they're pretty good. I don't know if anybody else has been down there to Miami, but he throws a party down there every year. It's for his birthday, basically. He throws a birthday party in Miami before the Bills game. Used to be at this place called I can't remember the name, and it burned down, so they had to move it basically. But it's a pretty wild party. DJ Milk is there. Last few years, spinning tunes, and anybody who's everybody is down there, going to the game. It's pretty cool.
Just one last thing, Sal. I didn't know what to come back. I still don't know what to say, but all I'm you suck, Sal. All right.
All right. I got you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I haven't heard from Tom in a while down there. Tom, what's going on over there, buddy? Let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Just very busy with work. I'm a pharmacy manager here in Providence, Rhode Island. So we're on the front lines of this COVID-19, doing a couple of different things. Everything changes on a every hour basis, basically. We try to protect ourselves, and I know I got a job to do in the community to help out with this, but in the back of your mind, you also don't want to get yourself sick and get your family sick.
That's right.
So it's a balance that you have to work. I'm fortunate to be working. I'm actually working a lot overtime. There's a lot of people that are not working right now. I'm very fortunate to be doing it at a risk.
Yeah.
And I just I'm missing Bills football. Usually these few months are the saddest months for me once it's over, because I'm usually all about the Bills. And I can't wait for this draft to come just to get your mind.
Yeah, make you feel a little bit normal. I hear you, man. It's I miss the camaraderie of the other media members. We compete at different outlets, of course, radio, TV, print, all that, but they're friends of mine. And I cover the team, they cover the team, and we're all down there. And you get together at the draft. You haven't seen each other in a couple months. You get together at the draft, and you're like a family. And just like any of the family, like we bicker with each other and we help each other and all that kind of stuff that goes on. And that's what I miss, right? It's not just the football aspect. It's hanging around the people that I enjoy football with and I work football with, and I do all those things. That's what I'm missing a little bit. So things like this tonight, what we're doing are a little bit therapeutic as well. Even for someone like me, I'm trying as much as I can to create content for everybody, and everybody says, hey, thanks for being on the radio. Thanks for doing this. And it's great. Mm-hmm. And I will be honest with you. One of the things that's happened here for me, a positive, is I've actually been able to rediscover my creative side through this pandemic. I think I kind of lost touch with it a little bit, and something like this, right? I mean, nobody else is doing it. I said, let's do something like this. So I'm just trying to come up with new creative things to do. And I've realized that maybe I was missing doing that before when I should have been doing it more often. So I'm glad in that respect that I've been able to rediscover my own self in the creative side. But the part of me that misses, like, I'm a people person and I want to be a part with the people that I enjoy doing this with. And that's what I miss the most, what's going on. Let me ask you guys some questions. So let me pick some people here. Mike Faber, you I think have probably been to Bills games longer than everybody on here by your own admission. What's the first game you went to?
How old are you, Mike?
Well, I will hit 60 in October.
Oh, yeah, he's got me by a couple.
There you go.
And what I remember, so thanks for asking, Sal.
Yeah.
Bills 30, Patriots.
The Jet home opener?
Bam Cunningham went 75 yards off tackle on the first play from scrimmage.
Wow.
And this is probably, I want to say, October of 74, maybe.
Wow.
Or 75. I was actually looking, I have a stack of media guides. I couldn't find a Bills media guide to check the date. But what I remember about that day is my dad, I like to get to the airport early. My dad likes to get to the airport hours before the flight. And so we pack up the car, leave Rochester at 9:30 in the morning for a 1 o'clock game. We get to Rich, because it was Rich, and it is still Rich in my mind. We get to Rich at 10:30. The parking lots are empty. This was before tailgating was invented.
Right.
So we walk in, the gates are just open. We didn't even have to show tickets. We are literally the only people in the stands, and we're watching, I don't know, it was Kendall or OP or some high school band do their practice their presentation in their street clothes. We waited for 2.5 hours for the game. I was the only picture of me in my parents' apartment. They now live in New York City. The only picture of me in their apartment from when I was a kid is me in a 32 jersey.
Wow.
And so the only jersey I wear now is Bob Calsu. So
I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me go up to Zach Williford Webb. What do you use to play music? Your phone? You have your iPhone, right? You use an iPhone, or what do you use?
Yeah, I have an iPhone.
Okay. All right. Ready? Here we go. Let's play a little game. I want you to open up your music and hit random. I want to know the band that starts playing. What band or artist starts playing?
If Okay. So
hit random and tell me
up.
what's the first thing that comes up.
Okay. First thing that comes up, Into the Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang, baby. All right. Love it. All
I
right.
listen to a lot of Wu-Tang Clan.
That's awesome. That's good. Good.
So I just had one quick question for you though.
Yeah.
So you see what's going on with Dak Prescott in Dallas, right? About how he's haggling back and forth ownership. Okay, so you have this end of the scale, and then you have Patrick Mahomes, who's probably not going to have to make a whisper to get paid. He's going to get whatever he wants and more. Like, just because you watch Josh Allen practice all the time, do you forecast him having any type of issue staying in Buffalo, or do you think it's going to be a situation where they just take care of him before he's even up to?
It's a good question. As far as they're not gonna pay him too early. They want to see next year's a big year. They have to decide after like literally 1 year from next month or in a few weeks from now, they'll have to decide as 5th-year option. You have to do that at the end of the 3rd year by May. So they'll have to decide that. So how he does in his 3rd year will really determine what they do with that 5th-year option. I would expect at this point they would probably pick it up. Brandon Beane has said many times, Zach, he said, I can't wait to the day we have to pay Josh, because if we do, that means he's the guy, right? So I think from that aspect, the team, they're fine with it. And look, I've been fortunate enough to meet Josh's family, see his mom and his dad on the road. They're at a lot of away games. I've gotten to know Brittany, his girlfriend, very well. And I will tell you, they are all in on Buffalo. They love Buffalo so much. He loves Buffalo. So that should not be an issue going forward. He really, I think, is a guy that has ingrained himself here, and coming from Wyoming, as we can see the jersey down there that Mike's wearing, coming from Wyoming and coming from a smaller town in Fireball, California. I think that, he doesn't need to be in a New York or a Chicago or LA or something like that. He loves being in Buffalo. So, I don't foresee any issue with that. Let's go. Go ahead, Zach. Were you going to say something? Who was going to say something?
That was Paul. I just wanted to follow up. Someone on that money thing. Number one, we partied with Josh's parents late into the night in Nashville, man. They were awesome.
They're awesome, aren't they? Is that when his dad did karaoke or something?
Oh, it was awesome, dude. It was just so much fun. But to kind of follow up what Zach said, is there really any reason we should be worried about the Pagulas and money after what they announced today?
I think
I've
so.
seen a lot on Twitter saying.
So I think you didn't come into the chat. The very first question was something similar, and
okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The Sabres side and the Bills side are separate, even though it's PSE, and I wouldn't worry about anything of that. Really, football is very self-sustainable. You really, almost every owner makes a lot of money just based on the way that the TV networks and the contracts are set up with the CBA, and but because the Sabres have not been very good for a while, and there's been some bad decisions, and management structure has turned over a lot. I think that's why they're in the situation they are with them. Hey, let me go down to Billy D. Billy D. All right, got a question for you. Billy D, what is the last movie you saw at a movie theater?
Sonic the Hedgehog with my 8-year-old.
Mine too. Me too.
Well, on top of that, Sal, oh yeah, I loved it. He didn't want to go at first, but he ended up loving it. So that's great. He's a stubborn little one.
That's awesome.
But on that note, I want to thank you for doing this, because I've run into you a few times actually picking our sons up from school. So
I didn't realize that.
It's nice
awesome.
to get that. Well, actually, I just moved out to East Aurora, like I said, so he's not there anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, so it's nice to have this opportunity to get a little bit more behind the scenes, or a little bit deeper conversation. You never want to bother somebody when they're
No, I
their kid up.
appreciate it. It's funny, I get that a lot. Like, people will see me out and they'll say something like that. I'm like, dude, and I know I'm the same way with people, but I'm always like, just say hi. I'd love it if you say hi. I like to know. Believe me, I'm very blessed. Right. I'm very fortunate. I grew up, I didn't come from much. My dad is an Italian immigrant. Didn't even graduate high school. We were very poor growing up, and I just loved sports. I played sports. I was an athlete. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I loved watching sports. I have no idea about a car except to where to stick a key. Like, I don't know anything about anything.
Hold on, you coached. You coached. Give yourself that credit. Yeah,
I did. I went on.
Coach.
I coached. Thank you. And for me to be able to do this and just kind of live my dream, I'm very fortunate and very blessed. And there's a lot of people in my business who are kind of negative all the time, or curmudgeons, and they see the pessimistic side to everything. I'm just naturally an optimistic, positive person. And right, like people that you could name, right? But it's I'm very fortunate what I do. So I'm very lucky the people that like you guys who come and you listen, you watch, you're on Twitter, and I interact. And there's been some missteps. You do. I'm a human being like everybody else, and you have your days, you have your good days, your bad days. Sometimes, I tell people all the time, there's 91,000 followers I have right now, and sometimes not all of them are people that want to get the best of you. You know what I mean? Sometimes they want to get the worst out of you, and it's hard every single day to never ever react to that. So one of the things that happens once in a while is you say something. I could go a whole month and never respond negatively to anybody or anything. And then the one time I tweet back at somebody that's like sarcastic or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'll get, I can't believe you're such an idiot on here. You're so unprofessional. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even do that. What are you supposed to do? It happens though. It happens. But
you've always been super approachable. So.
I appreciate that. Let's go to Mark over at New Era Field. What's going on, Mark? How's the weather over there today? Getting ready for a night game or what?
Yeah, I'm convinced he's Blake Griffin in disguise. That's all I keep thinking about.
Yeah, I play like I'm on the court too.
You sound like you should be broadcasting a game. I think you're after my job here.
I actually get that a lot, so I appreciate it, guys.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
awesome.
It's beautiful out here in Austin, Texas, and if you guys haven't been, there is a couple strong Buffalo Bills bars with tens and when we were good this year, hundreds of people coming. So yeah, a lot of Bills fans down here. I have a question if you don't mind me asking.
Go ahead, absolutely.
So obviously we're all coming from Twitter and the Twitter world. And there's been a lot of conversations, open dialogue conversations with Minnesota Vikings fans and others regarding Josh Allen. And one common source that is used is PFF and their grading and whatnot. I would love to know your take on them as an organization, and if you can truly pinpoint the nuance of football down to decimal points.
I don't think you can. Judging by some of your reactions, a lot of you do not like PFF, right? Look, and I'll give you, I've talked with people in the NFL about this. I've talked with executives. I've talked with players in the locker room a lot about them. They're like, oh, you're great on this, or they said you did this wrong. And I will tell you, let me tell you what the players and the football people response to this is, which is generally, for the most part, they really do appreciate PFF and the effort they put in and what they provide for a service. And a lot of teams actually do subscribe. I think the Bills probably do too, to see, because you don't want your opponents to get something that you don't have, right? So you do that. So they generally really do appreciate what they bring to the table. But there's just so much nuance that goes on from a play-to-play basis that they can't be trusted as far as what an actual ranking or grade is from a play-to-play or even in the whole season. How do you know what was called? How do you know an audible didn't tell me to block this guy instead of someone else, but you're giving me the demerit because I missed the guy in a blitz pickup or something like that, right? I'll give you a great example, true life story here. So I'm in the locker room a couple of years ago, and I asked Richie Incognito, actually. Richie and I had a good relationship when he played, and we would talk a lot, off the record. And not saying anything that I shouldn't hear, and it's fine. Richie basically told me one time, he's like, yeah, he goes, they gave LaShawn a miss on a block. It was actually my guy. He goes, I was supposed to chip him or something like that. He goes, so because I said to him, hey man, you got a perfect grade from PFF. He's like, yeah, well I actually didn't. I missed this one guy, but they said it was on LaShawn when it wasn't. It was actually on me. And that's exactly what I'm talking about there. How do they know every single play what a guy is supposed to do? The issue I have with them too is we had this big thing with Tre'Davious White recently with Sam Monson, and I kind of challenged Sam, and he didn't really have a good answer for me, which was they ranked Tre'Davious White way down the list. And I'm like, okay, that's just doesn't make sense, but whatever. And I said, well, Tre'Davious is shadowing some of the best receivers in the game. And he gave he only shadowed on a certain percentage. I said, okay, but even if he's only shadowing on a certain percentage, shouldn't that still be factored in, who he's covering on a play-to-play basis, factored into your grade? Because if I'm covering Amari Cooper or Odell Beckham Jr. or AJ Green, even a total of 100 plays compared to another corner who's ranked ahead of me, who's covering the third receiver all the time, how does that fare? Mm-hmm. So that's where they don't like it. So I will tell you that even teams, even players, they do appreciate the effort, and they don't think that they're trying to do something underhanded, but it's very, very hard to actually grade on a play-to-play basis when you don't know exactly what's going on, what the audibles are, what the calls are, what the offensive system calls for, and things like that. And I agree. It's a really interesting thing when you look deeper. And I think that the next wave of it, maybe even some more of these layers like I talk about. But now, actually, to me, it's getting almost to be like paralysis by analysis, where there's so much information out there that we're kind of not seeing the actual full picture of what's happening on the football field. So that's what I think about that.
Awesome.
Jill, I haven't heard from you. All right. You talked about, you're kind of an introvert. So books, do you read books? Like, what's the last good book you read? Give me a good book to read.
No, I don't really read books. I'd probably be more of like a better listener, but no, I'm like into movies.
What about movies? You get a good movie at home, a good show, a Netflix show, anything like that?
I'll give you a good HBO show, Succession.
Okay.
Really good.
I've heard it's pretty good. I haven't watched it. I've heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really relevant to kind of what's going on in our, world and country today, kind of the mass wealth inequality and who owns what and kind of stuff like that. But
Mike
really good.
Mike just changed his Twitter background to the Tiger King people. You guys see that, Jill? You see that?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, his virtual background there. Succession. Yeah, I haven't watched it. Is there any good actors I would know or actresses I would know?
No, not actually. Yeah, Macaulay Culkin's little brother. He's awesome. I forget his first name.
I didn't even know he had a little brother.
Yeah,
I didn't know he had a brother.
he's really good. He's like a character that you kind of love and hate at the same time.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
But I just want to make a comment.
Oh wait, I think I'm losing your sound. Okay, go ahead. We got you. Go ahead.
Okay, I recently was rewatching the games. Obviously, the games that we won. But I have to say, like with the Josh Allen comment, like I'm more of like an eyeball kind of test person, and like rewatching him, like he makes like amazing plays. Like I just think that if he could just get like 5% better, like he could be like really good. So when people say like they talk about his accuracy, I think that I think a lot of quarterbacks miss, simple throws and really hard throws all the time. But for some reason, like they just love to get him every time he makes a bad play. It's kind of more, I don't know. They just make a bigger deal out of it, I think.
Agreed. And I think the reason that happens, Jill, is because certain people had certain perceptions of him coming into the NFL that they want to be right about. That's really what it comes down to. They want to prove, they want to show you all the time that they're right? So I told you he'd suck. So when he makes a bad play, see, that's why I told you he sucks.
Yeah.
And they do that, right?
Yeah. It makes you not want to like read their stuff or listen to them. Like I blocked Sam Monson just because I just don't need that negative.
I love it.
I don't need the negativity,
The other side is true though. I mean, you guys know. I mean, I'm not giving secrets here. Like I'll be accused of being a homer, but I'm not. I think I'm fair. But I grew up here. I was a Bills fan. I was a season ticket holder growing up. I make no bones about it. I want the team to win. I'm part of the broadcast. Like I love it. I get to know the players, but I try to do my job professionally, and I'm able to criticize. I'm able to say, yep, that guy wasn't very good today. But just because you don't take a flamethrower to everything all the time and need to see the world burn doesn't mean that you're not critical. There's a way to do it. There's a way to be fair. And, I get that. That's the biggest criticism people will have of me and my coverage. Oh, you're a homer. You don't criticize. No, but I want them to win. I'll tell you right now, because I'm a Buffalonian and I want a championship for this city. That's what I want. But, it's not like I'm out there telling everybody every 2 seconds how great everybody is at their job and their position, on the field. But, I agree with you that Josh brings a lot to the table that people don't give enough credit for. And the thing that he gets criticized the most for is obviously his accuracies and his completion percentage. But I will tell you that the Buffalo Bills did not draft Josh Allen to be 70% completion guy. They drafted Josh Allen to make certain plays that other human beings simply cannot make. And that will make up for the completion percentage that he lacks.
Exactly like the play he made against Dallas when he basically just threw the whole defensive line down and fought for that.
Yes.
And you go back to that PFF, that doesn't show up on a piece of paper. So that's why I'm so sick. I'm so sick of people going, well, when's the last time he threw 300 yards? I don't know what this obsession with 300 yards is. I don't. When's the last time Lamar Jackson threw 300 yards? That stuff doesn't show up on paper. That is the intangible stuff that Jill's talking about with your eyeballs that you cannot teach and you cannot coach. And that's why Josh Allen is a stud. I know I'm wearing his college jersey, so I mean I'm being a homer, but I'm telling you, that's the stuff you pay attention to.
No
I
doubt.
just have another question.
Yeah, Jill.
Yeah, I just want to say also, I think that obviously we all see that the league is changing with quarterbacks. Like you look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Josh Allen, you look all of these quarterbacks that can use their feet. I feel like there's kind of like a generational shift where you have these people that pick up these quarterbacks and say, oh, they have to be in the pocket. They can't, they can't leave the pocket, or they're not a good quarterback. But I think that like now, like that's sort of like the new way. Like you want a quarterback that can break out of the pocket and run to the side and throw it down the field. I mean, don't you think so?
Yeah, I think that. Look, I think you can make any different type of guy work, right? As long as you commit to him. I think the biggest thing that the Ravens did, I love Lamar Jackson in college, loved him. I had a lot of questions about if he could translate into the NFL. I really don't believe he would have translated the way he did if he was on another team or organization that didn't do what they did for him. They completely changed their offense for him, and that's awesome. That's what they did, and they utilized his strengths. And I think
instead of forcing him.
Correct. I'll give you a great example. This is what I always say, and maybe you guys could disagree. I really believe this. I believe if Josh Allen was drafted by the New York Jets, I think he'd be a disaster right now. Because I don't think they have the leadership, the player development, or the culture in place to allow him to grow and to be the type of player he can be. But I believe if the Bills had drafted Sam Darnold, he'd be really good right now, and he'd be on a really good path.
It'd be a playoff team.
I was just going to say, you put Sam Darnold on the Ravens, he would have had an MVP. Well, I don't know about MVP, but he would have had a heck of a year.
Because they understood as an organization they had a plan. They had a plan from the beginning. I think the Bills have had a plan for Josh Allen from the beginning, and that's why it matters. I don't think the Jets have a plan for Sam Darnold right now. Adam Gase has a plan for Adam Gase. That's what he has. So that's why I think.
Let me ask you this on that note. I've had this question chambered for Josh Allen. So, I mean, we all know third year, it's always a big deal. This year's going to hinge on him. We pretty much have no excuses. We've got the tools around him. Everything you're talking about right now, the plan is in place. I was listening to the EJ Manuel podcast with Eric Wood, and that was a great listen, first of all, just listening to EJ talk about all his vulnerabilities. But what he went through with not having a veteran ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that's exactly what we have right now. There's just so many pieces in place with Josh. I'm trying not to go down this rabbit hole of getting caught up in stats too. I didn't realize he finished dead last in completion percentage, but his adjusted was so much better. And what I'm getting at is it seems like everything is there. The plan's in place, the things he's doing in the offseason, but what do you see behind the scenes, being admittedly, like you said, maybe a bit of a homer, or at least you want him to succeed, but you're an X's and O's guy, you're an objective guy. What can you tell us that, the average fan that, is he going to do it? Does he get it this year?
I'll give you guys a great story. I'll give you guys a really good story. So this is exactly what you're talking about. It goes back to the thing that I think Jill was talking about and those intangibles and exactly what Mike was talking about. By the way, we lost the other Mike. He left, but he said he had to go. But anybody wants to bow out, that's great. We've gone longer than I thought, but that's okay. I'm having fun, and I appreciate it. So feel free if you need to do that. So here's the story. So I'm watching Josh last year during one of the OTAs, and just out there, it's warm out, watching him play, and he's making some nice. It's one of the days where he had a good day. He had a good day, and I remember going up to somebody in the organization that I've known for a long time, and I said, "Boy, I mean, Josh really had a really nice day out here. He looks good. I hope he becomes the guy, because it just looks like he's really into it, and Bills fans will love him." The person says to me, they said, "Sal, I hope he does too, because let me tell you about him." And this is, I think, goes back to what we were all talking about. He said, "The kid is so genuine." And he goes, "I've been around here." This person said to me, "I've been around here through a lot of quarterbacks. I go back to Drew Bledsoe, even before that, Doug Flutie." He goes, "And Josh is the kind of guy that everybody likes because he's not fake." And that's not always the case with a lot of these people. He said he will treat me, this person said, who works in the organization, said he will treat me the same way he treats his teammate and the same way he would treat a janitor that comes in and cleans his locker. He goes, "He's just a genuine person, and everyone sees it. It's not fake." He goes, "You could hand him a pen because he needs a pen. And he'll say, 'Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.'" Like, he gets it. He's a people person, and that's why he's easy to root for. And that always stuck with me, because that's the kind of guy I want to root for, right? So, by the way, this person also said, I said, "Well, who's the other quarterback? Have you ever had a quarterback here that's been like that, close to it? He goes, yeah, actually, Drew Bledsoe was kind of like that. He gave Drew a lot of props, saying he was like that. I said, really? Fitz seemed like that. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, Fitz is definitely like that, but he's got that Harvard in him too. That's what he said. It's kind of funny, right? So I think that's what you're talking about, you know, in that regard. Is there anything like I can answer for any of you guys about, I don't know, like without getting too in depth on anything that goes on, like behind the curtain, behind the scenes, whether it's my job at WGR or on the sidelines, on the field? Daryl, go ahead, buddy.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear you come on with Howard and Jeremy.
Yep.
Sometimes you and Jeremy kind of have like opposing views, it seems like sometimes.
Sure.
How do you guys get along?
Great. Jeremy's a good friend of mine. You know, so is Mike Shope, and we've had our battles, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Jeremy's a good friend of mine. I will tell you that when I first started, you know, we didn't know each other that well. Jeremy was a little bit younger. I was a little bit younger, and not that we never didn't get along, but you know, we weren't like best buddies hanging out.
Right.
But you know, you go through a lot together, and I don't know if you guys know the story of Jeremy and his family and everything they've gone through over the last year, and it's been really rough on them. And you know, they lost their quadruplets. That was very, very public and tough for everyone to deal with. And then on the heels of that, his mom gets killed in a car accident just a couple months ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's been really trying. And you know, Jeremy has been awesome since Max has been born. He loves like watching and seeing stuff with Max and interacting. I was at his wedding, so we have a good relationship. And Mike too, you know, Mike and I have gone at it on the air a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember one time
I don't like him.
I texted him and I said, boy, that was really uncomfortable. I hope you're okay. And you know, with everything. And he sent a great text back to me. You know what Mike Shope said to me? This is why Mike's a professional. Whether you like him or not, this is why he's so good. He said, Sal, I always felt that whoever you're on the air with as a partner, you can get away with anything and it'll be okay. And that's what he said to me. He said, and it was great. And we've gone at it. He doesn't believe in the culture stuff and, you know, all that kind of, he's the you know, analytics guy, and nothing matters except for that, but that's okay. We all have our own thing. So it's a good question there. We get along really well. You know, it's funny. So here I am where I sit. This is actually where I do a lot of the broadcasting with those guys, even when we're not doing the pandemic. I have something on my phone. I'll show you. It's actually it's a digital. So here's my phone right here, and it's a digital thing called Lucy Live. I'll open it. Here we go. And this thing here, this is actually, if I hit these two buttons over here, that will connect me right to WGR digitally. And then they put a button up on the board, and I sound like I'm crystal clear sitting in the studio.
Right.
Wow.
I could be on my phone anywhere in the country, and that can happen.
That's crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, good signal.
Yeah. So now if I'm going to do a show like an hour, 2 hours, my Monday show, I'm going to go into the station. If I'm going to be there through a break, I'm going to be there. I want to be able to interact with the producer because I'm hosting. But if I'm just a guest, I can just do this and I can do it from home. And I do it a lot. And I do it just like I am with you guys here today, which is kind of cool. So I can I could take Max into school in the morning. Howard says, hey, you know, can you come out at 8 o'clock? Sure. I'll get up. I'll take Max into school. I'll get home. I'll sit up here in my office, and there we go. And away we go. And I'm on the air. So that's pretty cool.
So does the app boost that quality that you're saying it's crystal clear? I mean, because you could just call in. That app is that.
Oh yeah, if I call in, you could tell I'm on a phone line.
Yeah.
This app is actually it's a digital access line. It's digital.
Kidding.
Oh yeah, it's crystal clear. It's a license. You have to buy it. Entercom pays for me to have one. They pay for well, they would pay for Paul Hamilton, but he had a flip phone. So I mean, I don't know. Anyway, and here's the best part though. So you see where it says like Access 2 right there, right? So normally I go in on Access 2, but like they may say, hey, can you come in on Access 4 because WBEN's using Access 2? But here's the other thing. If WBEN says, hey, can we get you on to talk about the Pagulas and what's going on? They can pull me up on their board and I can be on WBEN doing the same thing.
Cool.
It's amazing. It's pretty amazing, the technology we have. I have another digital access box that sits here, which is more reliable than this. And I don't have to use my phone, and it hooks up and I just put headphones on and I hit a couple buttons. But because of the situation we're in, Jeremy has it at his house right now, so he can do his shows because of the pandemic. So I can use this and he uses that, which is kind of crazy.
Do you think that'll push this industry because of this pandemic? Do you think maybe it's going to start going, hey, you know what? It was a lot easier, and why don't we all start doing it that way?
I think companies are going to say, why are we paying people to come in? Why are
So
we
more
paying
cons-
people? Yep. Why can't we
more-
just have people at home? I think this has really given rise to companies understanding that we can do a lot of this remotely, and we can be creative with it, right? Like this, we can do this. My boss called me today. He goes, true conversation. He called me today. He goes, hey, bunch of the Entercom stations. He goes, WIP in Philadelphia is one of them. You know, because we own like Entercom owns 240 something stations. WFAN in New York, WIP in Philadelphia, a lot of the big sports ones. And he says, you know, WIP in Philadelphia and some other ones, they're doing a bunch of like live stuff on the internet, like Facebook or Zoom during draft night. You know, would you do that? And I'm like, yeah, if you want me to do, I'll do it. I'm going to be home and working. So that's what we're going to do. So our plan right now is during draft night, WGR's Facebook page, here comes Sal Capaccio. He's going live.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, that kind of stuff, you can be anywhere and do it. And
how often were you at WGR before this went down? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. You mean how often did I go in?
Yeah, how often are you actually like at WGR as opposed to broadcasting from home?
Good question. So I basically only go in when I'm doing my Monday show. Or I'm doing a show that, like I said, if I'm doing a show that I'm hosting, I need to go in. I got to have interaction with the producer and things like that. So if I'm filling in for Shope or Bulldog or Jeremy or Howard, I go in. If I'm hosting my show on Mondays, a Saturday show, I would always go in and do that. But during football season, basically my job is at One Bills Drive. So every day I go to One Bills Drive for practice. I go for press conferences. I watch practice. I go to the locker room. And then here's the other part about technology. So this is amazing too. So I go to the locker room, and I don't know if I have the microphone I had here earlier, but anyway, I got this little mic that attaches out of here. But either way, I get a microphone. I record all the sound in the locker room on my phone, and I have a recording device. I put it up here. Basically, I'll go here. I could be recording anybody right now. Like I'll record you guys. You can see this. It's moving, right? How it's recording there. I'm actually recording this right now. I hit two buttons. Boom, boom. I can send it to WGR and they have it instantaneously from my phone. So now they can say
right on air.
They can put it right on air and say, Sal Capaccio just spoke with Josh Allen in the locker room. Here's what he had to say. And it goes right over. And I could do that after the game. I could do that during the day in the locker room. And that's how I do my job. And what's cool is I live in the Elmwood Village, West Side area of Buffalo, if you don't know where that is. So I am 20 minutes to Amherst, where the station is, 20 to 25, and I'm 20 to 25 to the stadium in Orchard Park. It's perfect for me. I can go either one, and same amount of time to get to work. Sometimes I'll have to go to the stadium. I'll cover practice, and then I'll go host in the afternoon if I'm filling in. But basically, to answer your question, I go in when I'm hosting shows, but other than that, I go in only – the other time I go in is I have to talk to salespeople because, you know, I endorse products. I'm on the air. I do commercials. I might have to go record a commercial for someone. I can record here too. I have a setup at home. It's GarageBand on my Mac. I literally can do a commercial and record it, touch it up, send it in, and say, here's the new Ted's Hot Dogs commercial. And they can play it that way. So, yeah, go ahead down there, Paul.
Yeah, Sal, you know, first of all, you know, I don't know your 100% background, but the little bit I know, I'd love to say I admire the hell out of you. You followed your dream. And for a guy that's my age, that's really cool to see somebody that followed their dream. But I always want to know, how'd you get your wife to move back to Buffalo? What was that like?
Man.
You know what I mean? And how did you sell that? Because I've been trying for 20 years and it hasn't worked.
I had an advantage. My wife's from Germany originally. She said the weather in Germany is just like Buffalo. It's okay.
Did y'all meet in Buffalo or?
No, I actually met her. I went to Syracuse to be in broadcasting. I got my first job at a very small radio station in a small town called Englewood, Florida, which is just south of Sarasota. It's a retirement community. And I was working there. And, you know, when you're young, you think you're going to be at the pinnacle early. I thought I was going to be at ESPN when I was like 24, right? It's not going to happen. So, you know, you start to get frustrated. You start to wonder where the career is going. And I was living in this town where there weren't many people my age. Every girl I met was basically running away from problems up north who had 3 kids. And, you know, I couldn't, you know, and no offense to that, but I'm like, I was 25 years old and I'm like trying to start a life. And it just was a weird situation. So I decided to start passing the time by coaching. And that's how I got into coaching. I started coaching Little League Baseball and Pop Warner football. The high school coach comes to me, says, hey, you do a great job with these kids. Do you want to join my high school staff? That's how I became a high school football coach. I joined his staff, and I loved it so much after 1 year, I left radio, to become a full-time teacher. I went to the University of South Florida to get certified, and that's where I met my wife. She was in 2 of my classes. She was getting her master's degree in substance abuse and mental health counseling. And that's what she does. She works in substance abuse. And she actually is an essential worker during this pandemic because my wife is in charge of all the telehealth that goes on at one of the companies in Buffalo where people can still get their treatment like this, like we're doing.
Can you bring her on here? Because I think we could all use her help at this time.
I know. I talked to her about doing a podcast, coming up at some point. So, and here, this is a true story. So we come up one year, she's started running. She never ran in her life. She started running, and she did the Disney Marathon in Florida. Then we were going to come to Buffalo, and she said, "Hey, I'll do the half marathon if we want to go up and visit during that time." We come up. I'm living in Florida. She does the half marathon, and I'm not kidding you guys. She's done with the half marathon and said, "This is a beautiful city that I just ran through. I could live here."
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yep. So when the time came when I wanted to go back into radio and I really got the itch, WGR, the person who had run the station at the time, who's not there anymore, said to me, "Look, I don't have a full-time job for you, but if you ever want to move up here, I'll put you on the air and I'll hire you, but you got to do it on your own and you're going to be part-time and blah, blah, blah." And we took a leap of faith, and I called him and said, "Hey, my wife said she's willing to move to Buffalo. Let's do it." I dropped everything, and between the two of us, we were making really good money with my summers off and playing golf twice a week, and we dropped everything, and we moved to Buffalo, New York in 2011 to start our lives over.
God bless you.
Nice.
That took stones. That's I've always admired you for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Me
Thank
too,
you.
Sal. I mean, I don't think you realize, I'm not trying to kiss your butt or anything. But I mean, I have a radio show here. It's pre-recorded. But I've just, you've been someone I've really looked up to because of not only your professionalism and objectiveness on the air, but you're kind of like the Josh Allen of WGR. Like you can tell that you're very sincere. And like my favorite thing is when you open every show and you go, and especially when it's after a day where we just get killed, right? And we're all depressed. What brings me back is hearing you go, "You know what? I want to hear from you. Forget about me. I want to talk to you guys." Yeah. And it's like, awesome. and you're very creative, and you've been essential during this pandemic because I listen to Howard Stern and I listen to you, and that's what gets me through this. So.
Well, I appreciate that. And, we've done this, guys, now for like an hour and 15. We could go on all night. I don't want to do that to all of you.
Do it.
And,
Let's do it.
But
just do it again. That's all.
Maybe we could definitely do this again, or if I have another one of these, I'll let you know. Yeah, there you go. I don't know how this is going to go forward and things like that. Organizing it was the hardest part. Doing this was the easiest part. This was awesome.
Yeah,
this was really cool.
This has been so awesome. Like to piggyback on these and what these guys are saying. The Bills have been such a giant part of my life for my entire life, and to be able to connect with other Bills fans and connect with you, Sal, a guy who's in with the organization, it makes me feel like I'm like part of the Bills organization in a way, and like to make me feel like I'm a part of something like that, like something that I've followed my entire life. I'm 36 years old. My entire life is like, I feel really special being able to do this.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. If you guys need anything, you got now that I've DM'd you, you can just DM me, I guess, right? The DMs are open. We can do that. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Appreciate you doing this tonight. And, if we didn't get to anybody who wanted to talk, feel free to jump in right now if you want to say one last thing, if you can. I don't know. We got the guy getting married over there, Brian. He's been sitting there quiet, sitting on his bed with his Bills flag up there. Brian, Mike, how'd you meet your wife?
High school.
All right, good for you.
High school, yep. I mean, we've been going to. She took me to my first Bills game, actually. Awesome. But I mean, Mike touched on something about we were going to take our honeymoon early because she's starting a new job right after our wedding.
Yeah.
And like that whole thing has been kind of blown apart. There's so many unknowns to all this, and it's a good escape to do this. Mm-hmm. But I think the hardest thing, at least for me, is the unknown. We don't know how long it's going to go on for.
Yeah.
Or what it's going to look like a month, 2 months, 3 months from now.
Yeah, for everybody too, man. But listen, congratulations, and listen, everybody, stay safe. No matter what you do. I'm gonna share this on my Twitter page after I put together a little bit, and you can let everybody know how cool it was, and it was really fun spending some time with you. And I'm glad I got to know a lot of you guys, even just like this.
Go Bills.
Great night.
One
request.
Yes. Who's requesting?
One request.
Yes, Mike.
Can you just get on the inside even if it's one game a season, can we do 90s throwback uniforms and red end zones?
Yes.
Red helmets.
Yeah.
Red helmets.
They won't
the
do
red
it.
end zones mess with the HD on the TV.
It does.
That's
The red.
what it
I'm
does.
telling you. I was told that, and then people challenge me. But
Hey.
the red end zones match with the HD on the TV. That's right.
Let me tell you
Red
guys, I
At
was
least
on
the
the,
throwback uniforms to 92 then.
I've been on the Bills fan advisory board for the last 2 years, and all these things that we've brought up, and you just hit some roadblocks, and it's just all you can do.
Hey, real quick. Just want to say this, a promotional thing for you guys to know. Starting on Thursday night this week, we are going to start re-airing classic NFL games from their original radio broadcast. The first one we're re-airing, this is not our choice. This is actually the one that Westwood One Radio gave us, Bills Oilers comeback game. Unfortunately, it's not the Van Miller call. It's not our choice. It's the national radio call, but we're still going to air it, and it's going to be really
Whatever.
good.
I'll take it.
So check it out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Before
Sal.
this, and we have
Thanks,
a fan.
Sal.
Have a good night.
Go
Bills.
Go Bills.
Bye.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.